Ancient North America's Astrological Mound Builders and the Historical Blackout. Well, first of all, a lot of universities, American universities, send their professors and their teams to the ancient world, the old country, and they have excavations every spring to fall, and they find a lot of antiquities. But this is something that's still not known in the New World of North America, but we do have all these unbelievable mounds, and they turn out to be constructed. Now, recently we made a video concerning the Native American Indians and how the ancient Greeks traveled along the Mediterranean, along the Atlantic coast of Spain up to Britain. They had trade there. They would from Britain go taking the Gulf Stream, traveling it at about 4 to 5 miles an hour, catching the Gulf Stream, going up from Britain towards Iceland. They would trade there as well. From there, they would go to Greenland. From Greenland, they would go to Labrador of Canada, and they had established cities in the area of the St. Lawrence Seaway and even the Great Lakes. And the geologists have found, together with archaeologists, that it could have been them that have extracted over 500,000 tons of copper from the areas of the Great Lakes. They have found ancient mines. The copper had been removed. As we know, it was the Bronze Age. They used a lot of copper for, their helmets, their armor, their swords, everything, their chariots, and even their buildings. Even from Egypt, Israel, ancient Greece, all these countries had the need for copper, and there wasn't enough in the ancient world. And they did have trade with and established cities in North America, and they removed 500,000 tons of copper from there. They left enough, of course, for little trinkets and jewelry for the Native Americans to wear. But they also built pyramids. And the first pyramid builders were Greeks, and they went and established Egypt. Now, this is what we're talking about now. Of course, this is all recent revelations, because the geologists, together with the archaeologists and the anthropologists, came up with quite a few findings. Now, the other thing that ties in all this theory about the ancient Greeks having arrived at the New World of North America is the DNA found in Native Americans. The DNA found in Native Americans is the haplogroup of the people from Crete, from the island of Crete, the Minoan Empire, which was around before the Exodus, the time of the Exodus, about 1500 BC, and they were there until around the time of the eruption of the volcano of Santorini, Thera, which is believed to be what caused a lot of the upheaval during the time of the Exodus. Now, going back to this beautiful story, it's not story, it's really part of our history. This is on Humans Are Free by Alexander Light. It's truly mind-altering to contemplate history. He says, I usually start with the fact that most of our recorded history remains in secret. Well, it's not secret, it's just that it hasn't been done. You need money, you need authorization from universities to go and excavate all these things, and I'm sure they will come to this. But anyway, he says, I usually start with the fact that most of it remains a secret. The government alone, according to some historians, classifies approximately 500 million pages of documents every single year. How can a researcher or historian or anybody who's interested in diving into the archives of history, U.S. history, for example, expect to find anything of any real substance that actually pertains to the truth, he says. History is written by the victors, and most major historical events are full of information and facts that don't really show up in our secondary and post-secondary educational textbooks. These days, no matter how much evidence and facts support a topic, if the topic information simply defies beliefs or offends current upheld belief systems, many of which are based on lies, then it's rejected. Okay. Well, we see this is in all disciplines today. A great example would be the connection between consciousness and our physical material world, as demonstrated numerous times repeatedly by quantum physics. Despite the fact that we're told these rules only apply to the quantum level, there are several examples which show that no, they can be applied to the classical levels as well. Cases of mind influencing matter have been reported throughout history and across many cultures, more specifically in regard to supernormal abilities, which include telepathy, psychokinesis, and other phenomena that lie in the realms of parapsychology. And this evidence is in ancient literature, from the Vedic texts and Yoga Sutra to Jesus, Moses, Milarepa, Mohammed, and more, and it's also evidence in declassified CIA documents. So what's going on? Just as there is a scientific blackout, we also have historical blackouts, modern day blackout of information. Now, we still reject these blackouts, and historical facts are no different about the giants, for example, of North America. Have discoveries been covered up simply because they don't fit the framework of accepted knowledge? Well, the giants have been covered up in Europe as well, even in Greece. There are those, though, anthropologists that have seen these giants, and they say that they have been in an area of a mountain just northwest of Athens, for example, called Drafi. They have found evidence of what could have been a very, very fast flash flood, a tremendous fast flash flood, because they found skeletons, ancient skeletons of animals like donkeys and goats and what were they? Were they lions or something? Anyway, mountain lions. Anyway, they were animals that could have run off when they, for example, heard or saw a rivet or a river, a flash flood coming towards them. These were types of animals that could have run off to save themselves, but they didn't. The flash flood was so fast that they were taken away, swept off, and they were crushed like a big weight had crushed them and squashed their bones together. So what could have happened so quickly that had caused that? This is what they found there, but they also found giant humanoids, giants, and they quickly took them away, and no one has ever seen those skeletons again, ancient giants in that area. This is what the anthropologists and archaeologists were discussing on national television. Okay, now of course nobody knows where these ancient giant skeletons were taken away to. What was done with them? The same thing, I'm sure, in every nation in the world, not just the United States. But going back to this, he says, yet we still reject the blackouts. It sure seems that way, especially because you don't see any mention of giants in the textbooks. Perhaps that's because they don't fit in the supposed theory of evolution. Now, is this information just to paradigm shifting? Where what we once thought we knew is not true anymore. Giants were found within the lore of multiple cultures, from the indigenous to the ancient past, but bones have also been discovered on numerous occasions. Quote, it calls up the indefinite past when Columbus first sought this continent, and when Christ suffered on the cross, when Moses led Israel through the Red Sea, even when Adam first came from the hand of his maker, then as now, Niagara was roaming here, the eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mounds of America have gazed on Niagara as ours do now, end quote. This is a quote by Abraham Lincoln. A discovery was made in 1883 when the Smithsonian, the United States government military organization, dispatched a team of archaeologists to the South Charleston Mound. The report indicates that the team uncovered numerous giant skeletons ranging from 7 feet to 9 feet tall. You remember, though, at that time, in 1883, people were a lot shorter than we are today. Okay, maybe they were 4.5, 5 feet tall. They were much shorter than we are today. So a 7 foot tall, 9 foot tall person may have been twice their height. Now, they were decorated with heavy copper bracelets and other religious cultural items. The report also mentions that some of them had a skull that was of, quote, the compressed or flat type head, unquote, flathead type. This would resemble similar skeletal characteristics of those found in South America and Egypt. And going back still further, in 1774, settlers found that what they called the Giant Town, which housed several gigantic skeletons, one being an 8-foot-tall male. And you can read more about that in articles written previously, for examples from New York Times. Now, as the ceremonial astrological mound builders of ancient North America, another interesting topic was just like the pyramids, many other wonders of the world built with remarkable mathematical precision and synchronicities are the ancient sculptures, structures in North America that's been completely ignored by mainstream history. Jim Vieira is a stonemason, writer, and star of History Channel's Search for Lost Giants, had his TED Talk banned. The banned TED Talks are always the most fascinating. My favorite from Russell Tragg, who was a physicist contracted by the CIA to create the Stargate Project, a program investigating parapsychological phenomena where he shared everything he knows about ESP, banned because it was too controversial. In one of Jim's talks, he describes a structure, one of many which have apparently been found all over America, that goes to show just how interesting and mysterious and advanced these beings are, one of the many puzzles showing that extremely advanced, highly intelligent, ancient civilizations once roamed the earth, and many of them have been completely blacked out from history. Well, maybe it's because, again, my comment is they don't, you need funds to do this. You need a team that knows what they're doing, and if you have the funds and the team, of course they're going to go and excavate things. It's to their benefit. It's not that they're, purposely hiding these things. They just need, they have more of a chance to find things quicker when they go to the old country, Like, for example, just now, a couple of videos back, what they found in Jerusalem, in Israel. One of the towns that was taken over by Joshua. It looked like a necropolis. One of the Canaanite towns. They're always finding things in Jerusalem or in in Greece, from ancient Greek times, eras. It's a profit thing, how fast you can find something. But of course there are places in the United States where you can find a lot of things. It's just that I guess their attention is not geared to that direction. But anyway, going back to this, he describes ceremonial stoneworks that have been found in New England. These structures have been carbon dated, according to the talk, to thousands of years old, every single one of them, but there's a historic blackout, according to Vieira, especially in New England. He goes on to show a picture of the Goshen stone chamber, one of the hundreds in New England. What's remarkable about these structures is that the majority of them are oriented to the equinox sunrise or winter solstice sunrise. Now, and then he goes on to say, we are told that these are colonial root cellars. This one has a 10-ton sailing and a stonemason. He explains how the structure itself is quite a feat, which is why he has a suspicion that they might have been built by the giants which existed in ancient lore. Another interesting shot from the talk, particular structure of Goshen stone, has a stone-lined shaft created in the chamber which allows the equinox sunset to come through twice a year only on those days. And again, he also cites lab work done, which cites carbon dating reading of thousands of years old. So that would completely shatter the current mainstream exception that these are simply colonial root cellars. And they're not. They're thousands of years old. And then there's the ancients' obsession with astrology. The evidence for intelligent ancient civilizations have been left out of the historical record is grand, but even the ones that have not been left out show a tremendous knowledge of astrology, planets, and facts about the cosmos that we didn't consider ourselves till only a few decades ago, like the existence of Pluto, for example. From the indigenous all the way to the ancient Sumeria, astrology has obviously played a huge key role among these societies. It was extremely relevant, yet today this topic and its importance are brushed off as pseudoscience. And I personally have no doubt the movement of the cosmos and the way it affects human consciousness is something real, perhaps not well understood, but it's making a comeback. Now, this buzz by collective revolution on humans are free, but I have to again conclude with what we started with concerning the fact that the anthropologists, archaeologists, geologists found the connection between ancient Greece and the Native Americans. Let's not forget a very, very important thing that they had: the sailing, the catching of the trade routes, the catching of the Gulf Stream going at 4 to 5 miles an hour, which is not bad at all. When you consider that a lot of the cargo ships today go 9, 10 with their engines, that's pretty fast. So they were not doing bad at all. But they also had the Antikythera device. Remember the Antikythera device that was found in 1900 in a shipwreck off Antikythera, one of the islands in the Aegean of Greece? And that was like a type of a very intricate type of a compass that had to do with constellations. And that ship was sunk, and it had the Antikythera device on it. And we would venture to say, as Plutarch said, that they must, because Plutarch said he had taken a trip to North America. And from the constellations that he described above him, the astronomers believe that he was there around from between June 9th to July 9th, about 84 AD, something like that. It's assumed then that all these sea captains, the ship's captains, had Antikythera devices with them. It's like a type of an intricate type of a compass, a navigational compass. It's not just a ship that they found in 1900 off the island of Antikythera that had an Antikythera device. Okay, it was most probably all of them had an Antikythera device on their ships. You can imagine taking such a big journey and having such an obligation and responsibility for all this trade going on. Obviously, you would have had an Antikythera device. And it's so intricate, they still don't know all the abilities that this thing had. And way back when, one of the ancient Romans sent one of his, a group of his troops to go and get an astronomer, an ancient Greek astronomer, to sort of arrest him together with his Antikythera device so that he could come back to Rome and tell the Romans how that Antikythera device worked. But what happened was that they went against their leader's orders, and instead of arresting him and bringing the man back with the Antikythera device so that he could explain to the Romans how it worked, they brought back the Antikythera device, but they killed the man. They killed the ancient Greek. I guess he didn't want to go, or so they just did away with him. They just brought back the Antikythera device to the Romans, and the leader said, "What the heck did you do? I wanted you to bring back the man who could explain to us what this mechanism does. It's so intricate." But they only brought back the mechanism. So that's another text that I read. I mean, that was something really gone wrong. You know, they didn't carry out their orders, and that went wrong. So we know that they must have had the Antikythera devices everywhere, and they had the DNA evidence in the Native Americans, that Indians, that they are ancient Greeks. And there's a lot of words that they use that are ancient Greek, like Potomac, the Potomac River. You know what Potomac means in Greek? Potami means river. Potami in Greek means river, and they named the Potomac River Potomac, which actually doesn't mean anything, just means river. So, in other words as well, besides the writing that they found, the ancient Greek writing, and the DNA evidence that's in their haplograph group. Anyway, how do they say that? Sorry about that. Anyway, very exciting stuff about the navigation into the New World and the removal of the copper, 500,000 tons of copper, and the DNA evidence, and of course all these wonderful archaeological constructions, the ancient constructions. And this is something I'm sure that future generations of archaeologists in the States will really uncover wonderful things. Anyway, tell me what you think about this. This is fascinating. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.